La Familia is making an incredible run through TBT, and we decided to sit down with somebody that has been able to see these cats in person.
You are Locked On Kentucky, your daily podcast on the Kentucky Wildcats, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, what's going on, Big Blue Nation? Welcome on into Locked On Kentucky, your daily Kentucky Wildcats podcast. I'm your host, Lance Dawe, and on today's episode of Locked On Kentucky, we are going to be taking a look at the TBT run that La Familia has had with Mario Maitland of Kentucky Sports Radio. We had a conversation with him, kind of breaking down Kentucky basketball, their roster, and kind of his journey through this offseason with KSR and with the What's Next podcast. Incredible conversation. It's up on YouTube. It's out on podcast in case you want to go take a look. This was the back half of our conversation talking about the TBT, and Mario gave us some really cool insight as to how kind of things have gone down. He got a chance to be at all of the games, actually, but he got a chance to be at that game versus Louisville, and he was right there whenever Nate Sestina got spat on, and we kind of went back and forth and talked about just the importance of this rivalry. Really, really excited to get to share this conversation with you guys. Before we get into that, though, I want to tell you guys that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. You can download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. All right, without further ado, let's get into our conversation about La Familia with Mario Maitland.
We've talked about Kentucky's fresh start. We've talked about the roster a little bit. I want to get your thoughts on it because it's been such a big thing for you and this fan base over these last few weeks. The run for La Familia in the TBT, the basketball tournament, has been extremely fun to watch. Frankly, as a Kentucky fan who has not gotten to see any tournament success during the time that I've been doing this podcast. I've been doing this since 2021, and I've gotten to see zero NCAA tournament success during that time. Getting to see Tyler Ulis actually take a team to what is technically a Final Four with former Kentucky players has just been awesome. And you've gotten to see a lot of this firsthand. You've been like right there on the court getting to see some of these guys perform. Just kind of take me through the atmospheres at Rupp, the game against Louisville, kind of how this has been for you, the experience getting to see the TBT La Familia team.
Yeah, it's been incredible overall. You know, the way I look at it, Lance, is kind of like a time machine. You're basically in a time machine. You got all these players from all the different eras of Kentucky. I mean, Eric Bledsoe and the Harrison twins, and then you push back a little further and you got a Tyler Ulis, but he's the coach. And then Nate Sestina and Kellen Grady, two guys who really got there. Kellen Grady obviously got lost a little bit early in his career in Kentucky, and Nate Sestina didn't even get a chance to play in the tournament. So like I said, it's almost like a time machine for as far as the roster breakdown for La Familia. And then the atmosphere is one thing that's really, really, I wouldn't say surprising to me, but it's very, it's happy to see the fan base rally around them. And if you think about it, in the reverse way, it's happy. I'm happy to see the players rally around the fan base. I mean, these are guys who got coached by Coach Cal, and very loyal, extremely loyal to Coach Cal. And the sayings, a lot of the rumors here in Lexington was, are these guys going to support Cal? And we've seen podcasts with DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall and Cousins talking about, I'm rocking with Cal. Like, regardless, it doesn't matter. I'm rocking with Cal. And we're seeing firsthand that these players, yes, they rock with Cal, but they still have love for the Kentucky fan base as well. So that's been my biggest takeaway for them to come back and see the community. And they love it. They love it. I was talking to Willie Cauley-Stein the other day, and he loves the atmosphere that it's nothing like it. Like, he goes anywhere else, he says it's nothing like coming back to Big Blue Nation. As soon as you get off the plane, there's fans and everything like that. And it's nonstop, and you can feel it in the city, when you're walking the streets. So like I said, I'm enjoying it from my perspective. As a fan perspective, I get to be up close and personal. And like I said, I've had some of these guys on my podcast, so being able to chat with them and hear, their stories and their perspective is really, really cool for me. as just a fan. You know, I've never played with these guys or anything like that, but just hearing their perspective is awesome as a fan growing up and watching these guys. It's been a blast.
Are there some guys on this roster that maybe we're not talking about enough, this TBT roster, as we get deeper and deeper with them facing Carmen's crew here in just a few days?
Yeah, there's a few. I think there's at least, I don't want to pick a number out, but there's a few guys that deserve to be on the NBA roster. If we let's just start with one guy. It's Willie Cauley-Stein. Mm-hmm. Willie Cauley-Stein has shown that he can, still play at a high level. He's shown that he doesn't really have any holes in his game. I mean, he's shooting a three, very consistent with confidence. I think he had, I can't remember the amount of threes he had against Louisville, but he shot a good amount of it. He's still an elite shot blocker. Like you're not scoring under the paint with this guy, and another guy that's not really getting, attention is Kanter. Kareem Kanter. I'm probably messing up his first name. I always do. But Kanter, Enes Kanter's younger brother, Kareem Kanter, he's a remarkable player. I mean, he plays really, really good inside the post, Lance. Really good at inside the post. A lot of people don't understand he's a great passer as well. He hasn't really shown that part of his game as of yet, but he can pass. I've seen him in practices and his vision to play on the perimeter and make passes across the court and find his teammates for easy buckets. He's somebody that deserves to be on an NBA roster as well, and I think that's definitely going to happen for him. And last but not least, I have to say Nate Sestina is really he's shown what he can do at a high level. We didn't get the seed in the tournament. That's the sad part about it. And he had a rocky start in terms of La Familia play in the first game, and you could tell he's missing a lot of the 3-pointers and his frustration. You could see it on his face, Lance. But now you're starting to see it start to pay off. He had 6 triples last game against Louisville, and that's what he does. He pretty much do anything as well. I mean, these guys are Swiss Army knives. They can put the ball on the floor. I mean, Nate Sestina can play the 5 if he really wants to. I'm pretty sure he can play any position besides the 1. So, like I said, I got to say it's very exciting to see these guys and what they're capable of doing, and they have a lot left in the tank.
All right, before we continue our conversation with Mario Maitland of KSR, I want to tell you guys about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time has been incredible for me when it comes to getting tickets to MLB games. I've used them a ton, not just for MLB games, but also for college football, for college basketball. They are the place to go get last minute tickets. Going to Atlanta Braves games has been super fun this summer, and I always go to Game Time, even if it's last minute, to try and snag some tickets to go see the Braves in Truist Park. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, and it makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch. They've got killer last minute deals, all in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, and they take the guesswork out of buying your tickets. It is super, super convenient and quick to use the Game Time app. You get in, you get out. There's no hidden fees. You get to see where you're going to sit, and it ends up being better in person. Again, going to Truist Park has been super fun. I've used this for a variety of college football games, Division I college football games, to go see a number of different teams play. I'm sure that I'll be able to use it here for the Kentucky Wildcats this upcoming season to go see them. Probably going to use it whenever I go to see them in State Farm Champions Classic for the Duke game later on this year. Definitely going to be utilizing Game Time for that. You can download the Game Time app. You can create an account, and you can use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Today's episode is also brought to you by Factor Meals. Warmer, sunnier days have been going on for quite some time now as we wade deeper into the summer. You can fuel up for the rest of the summer with Factor's no prepped, no mess meals. You can meet your wellness goals in time for the rest of summer thanks to the menu of chef-crafted meals with options like Calorie Smart, Protein Plus, and Keto. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, KSR, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. They've got 35 different meals and more than 60 add-ons to choose from every single week. You'll always have time and an opportunity to find new flavors to explore. You can make your day delicious from breakfast to dessert. You can stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. It is a great resource, especially if you don't have time to kind of prep meals yourself. If you're trying to do a little bit of weight loss, which I have been over these last several months, and you get into meal prepping, Factor is the perfect place to go. Utilize things like Protein Plus or Calorie Smart to kind of get into either a calorie deficient if you want to focus more on protein. Again, like I mentioned, they have keto options. It is the place to go to get your meals. You can head over to factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 and use code LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. Incredible deal. That's code LockedOnCollege50 at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active.
Seeing Cauley-Stein just what just blue developing that 3-point shot has been super fun, and it's helped this team kind of find their way and kind of build some momentum, gain some momentum in some really important spots. Like I think he was 3 of 3 against Louisville, if I'm not mistaken, and it's when you need a bucket, dude, and being able to see a guy like that in a center being able to step out and hit threes like that.
Floor. He deserves to be on the roster, man. Like,
absolutely,
he stretch the floor and he's doing that at a high level. You know, he's very efficient as well. He's not missing jump shots and anything like that. And then he can paint protect as well. I say he deserves to be on an NBA roster. Great dude, great personality. Very, very down to earth person off the court. And like I said, I think he deserves to be on an NBA roster, and he's not far from it.
Absolutely. And it's been really fun to watch, the games in Rupp, the game against Herd that was just an absolute demolishing of the Marshall team, man.
Yeah. It's funny. It's funny you say that, Lance, because going into that game, it's crazy. Every game that they have, it's kind of this anticipation from fans where it's like, oh, this team they're playing up next is going to be tough. They're going to be tough. Like, I don't know. And then La Familia gets on the court and they do work. Like they destroyed Marshall, and Marshall was still talking trash, Lance, while they're getting destroyed. They're talking trash to Tyler Ulis and the bench and the coaching staff, and they're down by 15. And which I don't really get that, but that's the situation we're going into. You go into the Louisville game and everyone's saying, oh, well, you're going into Freedom Hall. This is different. And this is a notch, a level up compared to Marshall. Now you're playing some legit pros. Russ Smith is a legit pro. Montrezl Harrell, we know what he does. So, it's like every time they go on to the next round, there's always something kind of being said, and then Kentucky just outperforms the next team. So I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing what they're going to do in the Final Four.
Yeah, we know what Montrezl Harrell does. He bricks free throws. That's what he does. We don't have to get into it today. I just I'm big on like analytics and stuff from an offensive perspective, and from like the way that Louisville operates. I hate teams like that can't shoot and do nothing but try and draw fouls and then instigate stuff. Right.
There's a lot of flopping going on in that game.
I can't speak to Frank Martin as a human being, but former head coach of South Carolina. I think he's at UMass right now. He had some teams back in the day when like Chris Silva was out on the court, and nothing against Chris at all. It's just that he was the star of that team whenever he was there. That would do that. That just like that was their offense. They drew fouls. Like they just did nothing but try and make it a free throw contest. And seeing that against Louisville, it was painful. I'm not gonna lie, it was painful. But that's a really good point that you make, just with this team and how good they've been. And if you go on TBT's website, I mean, the numbers reflect it, just as far as like that. For some reason, TBT's got like offensive and defensive efficiency on there, which is like something you wouldn't expect this tournament to keep track of.
They're killing it, man. They're killing it. But they're like I said, they're deep. Lance, they're deep. They have a deep roster. Yeah. I mean, when the starting lineup is like, you got Bledsoe, you got Andrew Harrison, you got Nate Sestina, I believe you got Willie Cauley-Stein, and I'm missing one. Can't remember it right now. But off the bench, when you look who's checking in, you got the another Harrison twin coming in, and then you got a sharp shooter who doesn't necessarily miss a lot. It's Kellen Grady. He doesn't miss a lot of 3-pointers, although I thought Louisville game he was struggling a little bit. But like I said, they're a very deep roster. You know, James Young, you can't forget about him and what he does, what he brings to the table as far as stretching the floor. They have the deepest roster in the TBT tournament, in my opinion. And I think, you know, with Tyler Ulis being the forefront, it's no other candidate that you can pick. Maybe Rondo, who is on the coaching staff as well, Lance. He is on that coaching staff. But like I said, you know, it's a perfect fit, you know, a blend of guys, you know, to put together to make a run. And I think they're going to do it. I think they're a little overlooked to begin with. And now everybody's kind of seeing, okay, La Familia, they got something going on here.
Take me through your experience at the end of the Louisville game. Kentucky wins. It's kind of tense. You get past the court there, and you see a Louisville player just full on spit on Nate Sestina, I believe. Kind of take me through your experience getting to see that.
I mean, my experience was, you know, leading up to it, Lance, both teams were kind of struggling to score, and you can feel it in the arena, and where even you can hear fans talking about who's going to score. Like it was tough. No one was scoring for us at some point, and you know, La Familia started to pick it up a little bit, and then you know they were down by 3, which in my opinion, or from my perspective, I didn't even know that the target score was up. I didn't know it was a 3-point game. I wasn't aware of that, Lance. And you know, when you know 2 guys are going to hit the shot. Nate Sestina is a guy who just has 6 triples at this point, kind of cooling down at this point. And then you got Mr. Aaron Harrison, which I'm not sure if he was in the game at that point. I really don't remember. But you know, he's known to make big shots in the Kentucky Wildcats uniform. You always want him as a candidate to hit big shots, but it was his brother who did it, Andrew Harrison. And when it happened, you know, frenzy. It was loud. You know, it was loud in terms of a lot of Kentucky fans. You could see the sadness on a lot of Louisville fans' faces. You know, I'm from my perspective, I get up, you know, from the sideline, and I'm like I said, I wasn't aware of the target score, but I could just tell once he hit the shot, it was over. So I'm just kind of put my thoughts together. Okay, let me try to get some content, you know, and you know, chase the guy who just hit the winning shot, which is Andrew Harrison, and everybody's chasing him, and there's a whole bunch of reporters chasing him, and you know, everybody's kind of storming the court at this point. And obviously, after every La Familia game, every TBT game, everybody shakes hands, you know, and every opposing team shakes hands. So you're kind of you know hanging around waiting to get that picture near the bracket, because that's coming up next. So they're shaking hands, and Nate Sestina, and I don't remember the Louisville player's name because I'm probably going to butcher it, but I don't remember his name specifically. You know, some words was said to Nate Sestina, you know, about putting the L's up, you know, situation. Didn't hear the exact words. Tyler Ulis turns around, throws the L's down symbol, and that's kind of where it got a little hectic. And then all of a sudden, you know, everybody's kind of just following the commotion at that point, and you see a big spitball just come out of the Louisville player's mouth, and you're like, what the heck is, like, what's going on? Like, what is that? Like, to be honest with you, Lance, when I saw that spit, I was angry myself. Like, I wanted to go up there, and for a second, I wanted to go up there and be like, whoa, what's going on here? Like, we don't do that. Like, we don't spit in anybody's face. And I think, you know, the whole situation, you know, it shows it, although how bad it sounds, it shows what the rivalry is. You know, it's well alive. It's still there even years after. You know, there's bad blood. I don't know if you got a chance to see it on Twitter. There's one Twitter clip by my friend Vince, who works for WRB in Louisville. He has a clip, Lance, where Eric Bledsoe is walking over to the same player, the Louisville player, and they're shaking hands. You shake hands before the game, you know, and you know, let's have a good game, whatever the case may be. And he has his hand out, and the Louisville player's just ignoring him. Like, you just ignore him. It's a great clip, and it's a great example to show you what the rivalry actually means. And from my perspective, I got to experience it. It was insane. You don't get any better game like that. Like, it was so loud in there, Lance, that your ears hurt. Like, for a second, your ears, like, you have to stop and be like, ow, like, it kind of hurts my ears. And Like I said, I enjoyed the overall experience, man. There's nothing like that rivalry, Louisville and Kentucky.
All right, before we wrap up our conversation with Mario Maitland, I do want to tell you guys about our friends over at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience, the formula for winning championships, is also what keeps your ride or die alive. And eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance, from superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you are into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you will always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you are burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. You can keep your ride or die alive over at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers.
Well, I'm hoping that you're going to be able to get to experience a better game whenever they play this December in Rupp Arena. That should be an incredible matchup. I will say this about the spitting. It looked, for him to generate that amount of spit to direct towards another person, he had to have had he had to have swallowed water or something right before that and had that locked and loaded. Like, if somebody says something, I'm going to fire this at somebody. It was crazy, but the Louisville game, it was like, how did you do that?
Look, he spit on two different people. He spit on a reporter. That's how bad. That's how huge it was. He spit on a reporter.
It was AOE damage for how big the spit was. This is crazy.
Yeah. A lot of hatred. A lot of hatred in that spit.
But man, you see that game. You see the rivalry. You see the tension. We'll leave on this, Mario. Coming into this game this year, with this current Louisville team and this current Kentucky team, Pat Kelsey, Mark Pope, should the fan base kind of feel kind of invigorated, more excited now that we've gotten to see this TBT game? Should they be more excited about that matchup this December?
They have to be. I mean, they have to be. You got to understand Louisville. From Louisville's perspective, it's tough because they were looking forward to the TBT tournament, and we saw how that ended out. But they got a new coach in town as well, who's a good coach, very good coach. Doesn't get enough credit. Is Pat Kelsey. I think they're looking forward to something. And UK Kentucky Wildcat fans should definitely be excited for what's going to happen in this game. This is Mark Pope's era. You definitely want to get your first win in your first era. That's very important, especially against the Louisville Cardinals. I'm sorry. But yeah, like I said, Kentucky fans, they're going to show up. They always show up for that rivalry. They know what it means. We're feeling very, very confident because in the recent years past, we've seen a lot of success in that matchup. And like I said, I'm hoping I can be there to experience that one, because the last one that I just went to at the TBT tournament was insane.
Really looking forward to this upcoming season, man. Really looking forward to getting to see what La Familia does in this tournament. I'm excited for Kentucky football. That's also coming up, man. It's going to be hype. Mario, thank you so much for hopping on the show. This has been incredible. Before we head out, tell everybody where they can find you online. I know you're in a variety of places with KSR and your podcast. Plug everything, man.
Yeah, for sure. You got it on the handle right there. You can follow me on Twitter, Mario Maitland _3. What's Next podcast is on there, all on my profile, in my profile bio. So you can definitely check me out on Instagram as well. I post clips on there, and YouTube. I'm big on YouTube. I'm huge on visual learning and learning from that perspective as well. So, check me out on all social medias. Lance, man, I appreciate you for having me on here. It's always been fun. I can't wait to watch this when I'm getting ready to sleep and turn this thing on and kind of reflect on this great moment.
Well, thank you so much, man. Everybody, if you're listening or watching wherever you're tuned in, make sure to go give him a follow on socials and subscribe to the What's Next podcast. Mario does a very good job with his crew over there. Some really good interviews with a lot of different Kentucky, not necessarily basketball players, but just people around the area. And like you said, musicians, artists, former players, whether it be for basketball or for a variety of sports. It's super, super cool stuff over there. One more time, Mario, again, thank you so much for hopping on.
Appreciate it, man.
All right, that was our conversation with KSR's Mario Maitland. Again, thank you so much to Mario for hopping on the show. Really appreciated our conversation. A lot of fun. Going to have him on the show again soon. If you want to go follow him, and I want to strongly encourage you that you do, you can follow him on the socials. We linked his Twitter and his YouTube channel in the description below in case you want to go check that out. Great stuff over at the What's Next podcast. All right, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Kentucky. You can follow the show on Twitter at Locked On UK. You can follow me on Twitter at LanceDawe_, and you can follow the show over on Instagram. That is at Kentucky Podcast. Any questions, comments, concerns, leave those in the YouTube comments below. Hit me on the socials. I will see you all tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Kentucky. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and God bless.